Mr. Kadish is the greatest live stream producer to ever live. He is both the smartest man alive and the sexiest. Jude is a lucky gal. Mr. Kadish is an inspiration to us all, and we are all better for having him in our lives. I honestly don't know what life would be like without Mr. Kadish. He is the sunshine on a gloomy day. All hail Mr. Kadish. He is my most favorite person ever. Huzzah.
Huzzah. Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday, which means it's time for yet another Saturday morning. I am your host, Mr. Kadish, as AI Dutch Butters so eloquently called me. And joining me today, as always, is my fantastic panel of nerds, starting with the real Dutch Butters. How you doing, buddy?
I hate you. I hate you so much. Yeah, I don't even know what
Flames
to say.
on the side of my face, burning, yearning.
Yeah.
All I can think of is the bad reading of a breakup letter. I hate you. I hate you more than anything in this damn world.
Well, you know you know what we don't hate is Brian from the podcast. How you doing?
Hey now. I was wondering how you're going to segue from that
today. Yeah. And
I was up late editing, so my eyes are very puffy.
Yes, and of course, the Lord of the Shelves, the King of the Pineapple Pizza, Odin from OMB Reviews is with us today.
Howdy. I am doing fine. I'm talking to someone in the chat right now, but glad to be here as always with some fun topics. We were just talking about how excited we are for our topics today, and we can't wait to go into them, Matt.
And I'm also excited to welcome Tom Connors Jr. back from his hiatus.
Tommy!
Eating his lunch while live streaming. How you doing, Tom?
You know, they want $20 an hour, but they can't get the mayo on the goddamn chicken sandwich.
And they get it to you very slowly as well nowadays.
That puppy looks very happy, though.
Yeah, she's like, I'm going to get whatever falls on his lap.
Tom, you must be banking bank because I can't afford to go to McDonald's anymore.
Yeah, McDonald's
I
is
use
very
the
expensive.
app. You get free shit like free fries and stuff.
Yeah, the app is actually impressive, dude.
Yeah,
especially if you have kids.
Good. Yeah. But everything is more expensive. We're actually going to be talking a little bit about that today. And for those of you wondering where Keanu C. Thompson is, she is fashionably late, as is her way, but she should be joining us. She has assured me that she will join us at some point in the live
I thought we were getting Keanu Reeves.
Whoa. No.
That's the only reason Tom came on the show, man.
It's a unisex name, Tom, as we all know. Real quick, want to give a big shout out to our top tier leaderboard people. Scotty Dub still sitting pretty as number one for top super chat and top contributor to the live stream with $500 as his single super chat. In fact, I believe our intro into the show today, the trailer that plays while people are waiting, was when he dropped that super chat on us. That was a lot of fun, and we appreciate his support. Also, Made You Say Butts, sitting pretty at number 2 for $300. Mexican Iron Man, still our top, most consistent contributor. And we actually got a member chat from him that we're going to get to in a minute. And Jillian H., Major Chai Chai, and Eric Winberg are always the consistent top gifters.
Oh,
so
shit, Mikey's here?
Guys. Well, I don't know if he's still here, but Mexican Iron Man, a member for 27 months, using my member chat to remind the panel that Matt is Mr. Kadish and should be recognized for his vision, leadership, and intellect. Hail to the S&P. Hail to you, Mexican Iron Man.
And if you don't call him things he wants to be called, he just makes fake versions of you and
of course
makes you say it anyway in front of
how we roll.
People.
Juliet, member for 8 months. Good evening, salty nerds and chat. Good evening to you, Juliet. And of course, Eric Winberg with his obligatory gifted Salty Nerd Podcast membership. Thank you very much, Eric. Always appreciate that. And Aaron Charman gifted 1 Salty Nerd Podcast membership. Thank you so much, Aaron. Really appreciate that. And guys, so with those gifted memberships, we are just 8 new members away from our goal for this live stream. So appreciate you all who are gifting the memberships. Let's keep that going so we can hit our goal set by Dutch Butters himself. Speaking of goals, we want to hit 25,000 subs by the end of 2025. We're already almost halfway done with the year, and we still haven't cracked 21,000 subs. So we need a lot of work. We need a lot of help. Be sure to share and subscribe to the channel if you are so inclined. And if you can't get enough of the Salty Nerds, be sure to join our Discord at saltynerddiscord.com so you can be part of the community on an ongoing basis, not just in the chats on the live streams, but every single day. Dutch Butters, you want to tell people about how awesome our Discord is?
It's pretty awesome. It's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really,
You heard
really
it from
cool.
the man himself.
Really fun.
That
Discord,
is
guys.
ringing endorsement from Dutch Butters.
It is awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
All kinds of great,
And-
entertaining conversations going on. It's
And of
incredible.
course, directly after this show is over, we have the Brain Show. That's Brian and Shane combined
Let's go.
as the dynamic duo. It says it starts at 12:30, but it actually starts right after this show is done. Brian
Yep.
doesn't even bother to go to the bathroom. He just holds it.
I know. I wear a diaper
for
actually
hours.
now. I'm
It's
wearing
not
a
it's
adult
not the
diaper.
Cheyenne show.
Yeah.
The Cheyenne.
Cheyenne.
Brian, you want to tell everyone what your topics are for today?
The Big Beautiful Bill. Big Beautiful Bill, Mission Impossible, The Golden Dome, Afrikaners, and some weird conspiracy news. Which, by the way, nowadays conspiracies just become news at some point. So
Yeah, it's actually facts.
yeah, just facts. It's facts that people haven't figured out yet, right?
Yeah, exactly. What's the difference between a conspiracy theory and a fact? About 6 months.
Yeah, about 6 months.
Yeah. But guys, we have our guest of honor who's joining us now. We got Keanu C. Thompson. Is your name still Thompson? Because I know that you recently got married.
Yes, I'm still going by Thompson. Keanu Bisconti is sassy, but people know me as Thompson. So
Yes. Well, welcome to the show once again, Keanu. It's great to have you on here and have like a female perspective for a change. Normally, that's just Brian. That's Brian's job, but
Right.
now we have an actual woman on the panel. So
That's why I was hired. I feel like I've been downgraded now that Keanu's here. So
Yeah.
do I
Okay.
sound okay? I'm sorry I'm late. I had this horrible, it sounded like a printer receiving printer thing. So I had to switch the sound around. Do you hear that right now or anything?
No, you sound great.
Okay, thank God. I was like,
sound a
this
little
whole
compressed.
guy here. No, okay.
Shut up, Brian. It's not being sexist.
I
Tell her
don't-
she
it wasn't
sounds
sexism.
compressed.
Stop mansplaining
All-
sound crap.
Yeah.
Doesn't
All
matter.
women are compressed.
I'm not manscaping.
I did say printer.
You're not manscaping. You're mansplaining.
I'm not mansplaining or manscaping. I get waxed once a
I'll
month.
be in my office.
I don't need to know these things.
Yeah. You know what we do need to know, Dutch, though, is from Hemorrhoid Hurts for $2 Australian. Good early morning, friends. Yes, it is quite early in Australia. We appreciate you
He listens
always
to this
waking
at
up
like
early.
4 a.m. or something.
Yeah, like 3 a.m. It's crazy. And Mexican Iron Man with another member chat. Oh, wait. That was a member chat I already hit. So I guess Hemorrhoid Hurts just showed up in a weird place on my
You were
queue.
just trying to scare me, make me think Mikey's still here. That's what it was.
Maybe he is still here, Tom. You never know with Mikey. Like he's quite sly.
Always listening.
Always listening, always plotting. Guys, we're going to start off the show today talking about something really exciting, which is junk bond status. Warner Brothers just got downgraded to junk bond status. And I know a lot of people are going to say, like, I don't care about any of this, but this actually has far-reaching implications in Hollywood. And essentially what happened was they got their credit rating downgraded to BB+, which is junk bond status. And essentially what junk bond means is that when people are looking to borrow money, the bond rating equates to how risky it is to get a return on your investment. And so basically junk bonds are very high risk bonds, but they're also very high yield, but there's a greater chance that you're going to lose your money if you invest in junk bonds. And so basically Warner Brothers, it's now harder for them to borrow money. It's now harder for them to get lines of credit. It's now more risky for them to sell investments in their companies simply because they have to pay out more on these bonds. So when a credit rating drops on a company, it's actually like a really big deal. And the reason that this happened is because supposedly, I know Tom's got a lot to say about this, but supposedly Wall Street's looking at their business, and their business is like 80% like cable TV, and they're seeing cable TV kind of like going the way of the dinosaur, and WB hasn't diversified enough. And so basically they're saying that because their business model is dying, they have the inability to repay debt or pay back loans or stuff like that. And therefore, they're a riskier investment. So we're going to downgrade their credit rating. And this means that Warner Brothers now has less ability to borrow money in order to make TV shows, movies, all this other stuff. And there's even been talk about Warner Brothers spinning off all of the production stuff that they're doing into its own company to try to isolate those risks away from their core business. But David Zaslav has come out and said, like, we haven't made that decision yet. Like, we're not even entertaining it at this point, but rumors abound. So I want to start off with Tom Connors on this because he has a very interesting theory that this is actually a little bit of targeted warfare against the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery. So Tom, take it away.
I don't have so much a theory as Mikey said a lot of it.
Well, you want to enlighten us on what Mikey said?
He's drinking his drink, man.
I had to wash down my Mickey D's. You rushed me into this. I was expecting you to save me for last. Yeah, no, I think this is a bunch of bullshit. They're using the cable side of things as an excuse to downgrade their stock right now because Hollywood and Wall Street has ZDS like a mofo. What is ZDS? That's Zaslav disorder syndrome.
Derangement syndrome, yeah.
Yeah.
Zaslav derangement.
Derangement syndrome disorder, whatever you have.
Is that like KDS? Kadish?
It's like TDS, yeah. So basically, they're using this as a reason to downgrade their stock when I'm sitting here going, so are you going to do the same for Disney and Paramount and Universal as well? And Sony, for that matter? Because nobody else is making any money right now in Hollywood. Warner Brothers is the only ones who are really making any money. Now, granted, Disney has the parks and stuff, but they're suffering too. So this whole thing is just a big targeted kind of thing, if you ask me, because like he said, they haven't even done anything yet.
Right.
It would be one thing had they actually decided they were going to sell this off and some other company came in and made an offer for cable for Warner Cable. And if they did, then we'd be having a different conversation here. But at which point, how is that bad? Because cable is dying right now. It would be good for their business to get the hell out of cable, to be honest with you. But look, Mikey had a very nuanced take on this on our show the other day. He broke it down very well. I'm not trying to shove people over to that, but I can't do it justice compared to what he said. But to me, at the end of the day, it sure did sound like the people that are doing this are kind of doing this out of skepticism more than actual reality. But that's kind of how the market works too. It's kind of how Mikey explained it. I don't know if you can expand upon that at all, but yeah.
Yeah, a lot of speculation in the markets. But I want to turn to the man who has the most to lose with this Warner Brothers thing on the panel. Brian, who is actually the biggest shareholder in Warner Brothers Discovery on the panel. Do you have a take on this new junk bond status?
I mean, obviously I'm not happy about it, but I did buy Warner Brothers at under $8, so I'm still fine. I do believe Tom is right. I did see what Mike said too. The thing about Warner Brothers is the market is based on speculation and like social forecast. So a lot of people they have these systems that scan the internet and look for people and their opinions on Warner Brothers and all these extremely loud leftists and their bot friends just constantly complaining about Zaslav and how he canceled Batgirl and how he's
and look, I don't agree with every decision he's made either, but he has gotten the company out from underwater for the most part.
Right. Yeah, I like Zaslav. I call him Zaslav the Axeman. I love that he went in there and started cutting all this bullshit that didn't make no money and wasn't going to make money and was going to cost the company money. Whether you wanted to see Batgirl or not, let's be real. That was going to lose money. It made more sense to cut it and take the tax write-off. These companies have millions and millions in tax liability. So being able to cut that out, completely cancel it, throw it in the trash, burn it, whatever you want to do, and then claim it on your taxes is a big relief. And maybe that's not all the projects that were cut. Maybe some of these projects you felt like had a chance to make money and they didn't give it that opportunity. Great, I get it. Before Zaslav came in with the whole DCEU thing, I feel like that was rushed. That was not done correctly. Executives didn't give the franchise a chance to even get off the ground. And a lot of those decisions that were made is why that the previous iteration of DC failed. But that is not Zaslav and his team. It's a completely different team. So you look at what they have now, right? Look at their movies, their TV shows, their properties. It's not just the stuff we recognize. They have Discovery too. These are thousands and thousands and thousands of episodes of reality television that is highly bingeable and highly rewatchable for a lot of people. These things, these properties, licensed correctly to the correct streaming platforms, will, because it's already happening, net the company millions and millions of dollars in revenue on past catalog shows, not even new stuff they're making. Like Tom said, it's the only company making money right now in the movies. So I think that this junk bong status is just the powers that be reading the room incorrectly and listening to these loud minority of voices. And I think that when Superman comes out and when these things happen over the next year, look, I'm not a financial consultant. Don't listen to me, but I bought in under $8, and I'm gonna keep this thing for the next few years, and I think it's gonna come out on top, and I'm gonna make a ton of money. So I think it's a buy time.
Well, I want to ask Keanu. So the big impact that this thing has, Keanu, is basically, Warner Brothers is trying to really hit their prestige television by rebranding to HBO Max. They've got a big slate of big box office superhero films in the queue with James Gunn's Superman leading into the broader DC universe. And basically now it's going to be harder for them to get the money to finance a lot of these projects. So how do you think that's going to impact just people who are fans of Game of Thrones, Superman, all this other stuff?
You wanted a woman's perspective, and thank God you explained that again, because before you said that, I didn't have a perspective. The most I know about stocks is Wolf of Wall Street. It was like you were speaking a different language. But thank you for putting that in lady terms. The fans are going to be thank you. The fans are going to be very disappointed. Those Game of Thrones fans. So you're saying that it's going to be harder to fund all of these huge superhero movies. Yep. That's not good. So, well, maybe, do we like all of them, or will they be more specific and curated, and they'll only make the really good ones, so we won't end up with another Batgirl? Did we not like Batgirl? I don't know.
Well, nobody's ever seen that.
No one's seen it.
Yeah, we don't know yet. But it is one of those things where it's not just it's Warner Brothers' entire movie slate, entire TV slate, because basically the way Hollywood studios work is they borrow money to make this content and then pay back the debt after the revenues come in. And so basically
they're hoping that the film will make enough.
It limits their risk. And basically by hedging their bets with multiple things, one of them is going to hit and some of them might flop. But the idea here is that it's now harder for Warner Brothers to actually get any of that borrowed money in order to make what they would like. And that's not just superhero movies. That's any movie. That's any TV show.
You ever played roulette in Las Vegas?
Yes, actually.
It's like putting money on a bunch of different numbers.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's what I see here is some dirty politics, right? They're making it more difficult for Warner Brothers to be able to function.
Right, to be able to spread out.
Yeah.
Is there a chance they do it like the producers, you can make more money with a flop than you can with a hit? Or is that illegal?
That's a kind of a different scenario here, but that kind of goes back to the Batgirl thing. Another example of the whole ZDS thing is how people were blaming him for the Coyote versus Acme movie and the day the Earth blew up. But as soon as they found buyers, they got sold. But everybody's acting like he don't want to sell it. He's doing it on purpose. People have made offers. I'm like, no, I heard they made some lowball offers that they weren't going to take. Because if they can make this much by writing it off on taxes compared to how much they're asking for, they're going to take the more money, right?
Right.
Well, somebody finally came in and made them an offer that was worth it, and they sold it.
An offer they couldn't refuse. Right?
Yeah, they made them an offer they couldn't refuse. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a matter of we spent this much money, we expect to get this much out of it. And a bunch of people lowballed them, and then a bunch of bots hit the internet to get people stirred up to complain about them not selling that lowballed option. And then they're mad at David Zaslav and co. because he didn't lose potential money on a deal. Look, you know what I like about David Zaslav? He doesn't give a crap about people's opinions of him, at least publicly. and he just does whatever he thinks is best for the company. And the guy's a pretty good track record of actually making money for the companies that he's working for.
Well, I want to throw this to Odin, unless you have anything else you want to add, Keanu.
No, not at all. But
Okay.
now I honestly feel like I have a little bit of a grasp on it. So thanks.
Cool. Great. So Odin, Warner Brothers has been kind of plagued by like major losses, like, Joker 2, stuff like that. Furiosa was counted. We did a show a couple weeks ago talking about how like they had some big bombs, but Tom Connors correctly pointed out that they've also had a lot of hits. And so, but the question I have for you is, with cable dying and with like the risk of like, all these like movies not, spending hundreds of millions of dollars and not hitting, is Warner Brothers in danger, do you think?
The only thing, because I'm also not really an economics expert, so the only danger I would say is that when you're on this, I guess, junk bond status, I assume that's pretty bad for you financially. I assume at the very least the perception is really bad, and oftentimes the expression of perception is reality sometimes comes to fruition, right? And so that could impact the way people invest their money, could impact the way people make decisions. It seems that there's probably something else going further this, like kind of like what Tom had been saying. So I imagine that Zaslav is probably looking at this saying, okay, like I have an idea of what's going on. Let's go ahead and just, push through this. Because yeah, I mean, I imagine it's probably bad for them in that regards. As far as the actual box office is concerned, as far as like their revenue streams, yeah, I think it's a situation where they have some massive losses, as you had just mentioned, but they've also had some mediocre hits last year at the very least for 2024. And then this year, they got some pretty big wins so far. I mean, they've of course got the money being made by Minecraft. Now they do have to, I believe, split the revenues there, but it's still, even with that being the case, you're still talking about hundreds of millions of dollars worth of profit just from the movie tickets. That's not including any other deals that they have. And of course, VOD sales and Blu-ray 4K sales, etc. So all those are things that are going to add to Warner Brothers camp by the end of it. Sinners has done really well. The issue with Sinners was that it cost way too much for the kind of movie that it was. So it is making money, just not making as much money as it could be making. However, I do think it's going to have a huge run on VOD and a huge run after the fact. So it's just going to keep making money for them. So they got these movies that are making money, and that even with these, extra things, right, of splitting revenues or of, having to wait down the line, they do have a lot of revenue coming in. Final Destination is a film also that by this weekend is also going to be adding to its profits too.
Yeah,
so
bigly, yeah.
So there's a lot of good news right now going on for them. And so it wouldn't surprise me, again, if it's political, it might take a while for things to kind of get, rectified.
Yeah, someone's playing chess right now with this.
Yeah. But if it's not political, if it's more based on reality, I would not be surprised with the next month or two, especially as we enter into the summer movie season and some of their bigger films start to get released, that you possibly actually, see that junk bond status go away and that they eventually, kind of rise the charts.
I mean, just between Minecraft, Sinners, and Final Destination alone, those are like the 3 biggest hits of the year so far, outside of Lilo and Stitch, which is going to be coming in now.
Huge, yeah.
But I mean, just the fact that those 3 movies are the top films, and everybody's going, well, gloom and doom on Warner Brothers. This was the same thing I was saying. Like, there's no way, even if Superman does happen to fail, that doesn't mean Warner Brothers is going to close its doors or anything. That would be like if McDonald's had decided to close its doors over the McLean failing, right? Like, it just doesn't work that way.
Like, oh no, people didn't buy the McRib.
Yeah, we didn't buy the McRib this time. We're done. It's like,
it's not like we
you
can
just
fall
quit
back
making
on
those
the
kind of movies,
tried and
yeah.
true cheeseburger that's been selling for 78 years.
I mean, each one of these movies is set up as a separate business anyway, so that's the other thing people need to understand. A single movie cannot technically tank a company unless they're a really small indie company. Like, even Orion back in the day, it took 3 or 4 movies to basically kind of tank that studio. And in reality, it sucks for them, because had they not sold Addams Family and kept it, it probably could have saved the studio. But that's a whole nother story.
Well,
but like, it's just a chess game with these kind of things.
Can
like
I add to this real quick? Yeah, like the Bears, for the bear market people that are complaining about the company and who gave it that junk status, like, their complaints are so generic. It's like, oh, the movie industry is changing and streaming is still evolving. It's the generic complaint you can apply to literally every studio. So if you're going to give a junk status to Warner Brothers, then that complaint needs to be applied to every single studio.
If anything, Paramount should be, for sure, yeah.
Right. But the bulls who are telling you it's good are the ones actually giving you details. Like, I'm talking about details. Merger, cost synergy, what they've been making the last year. not just their movies, but their back catalog. And you guys don't get it, but Warner Brothers and Discovery together have a back catalog that rivals the zombie studio MGM. You have a back catalog of material that you can sell for decades. For decades. They can make money without ever making another movie for the next 5 years. Easily.
Well, speaking of selling, Brian, I want to ask Dutch Butters, what's a better investment, Warner Brothers Discovery or crypto?
Warner Brothers Discovery for sure, right?
Yeah,
right now it is.
I'm not going for Doge.
I have no idea,
dude. All the rug pulls the last couple days. I wouldn't touch crypto right now.
Isn't this kind of the thing? I think we talked about a little bit about this last week, but isn't this going to like force them to maybe make movies that aren't in the $180 million range, make smaller movies that have a better chance to be profitable?
I mean, but they already do that though. Like we only talk about the big ones, but there's stuff that they put out, or at least they fund.
What I mean they take their big tentpole movies like Superman, and instead of spending $180 million on it, maybe they spend $100 million on it.
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
what's the budget for Supergirl? I think that's
I have no idea.
I believe that's like $100 million.
Yeah, I mean, and that was part of Zaslav's whole thing is when Gunn took over, these movies were supposed to be under certain kind of budgets.
Mm-hmm. And that's Peter Safran's gig. Like Peter Safran, he's the money guy. He's really good at making money from movies. And we haven't even seen DC actually take off yet. We're gonna find out this
guys, you know who else is really good at making money is the show with their super chats. So we got Fluffy Panda, a member for 21 months. Hey, who let the broad out of the kitchen? Get back in there, Brian. Make daddy a sandwich.
Yes, sir.
Miller Lite shirt for you.
Do you want my pantyhose on?
All right, and we got Mexican Iron Man for $4.99. There is also an article about the CEO and how he failed at that branding. How he failed that branding HBO. I think he might.
That is one thing that is on Zaslav's shoulders was the stupidity of dropping the HBO.
Shouldn't have dropped HBO.
That was so dumb. Yeah.
And Tom, I'm going to need your Japanese accent for this one. We got Fukushima for $1.99.
Keanu, a we receive in the Matrix yet conceive.
Haiku.
It is a haiku. Is it?
And Fluffy Panda for $5. Keanu, opinions on Jurassic World 4, Goonies, Princess Bride, and Pineapple Pizza. So I know if to love or be extra salty. I'll be here on my loved Am I Dead Wreck Island.
That's also definitely John Wick 4, not Jurassic World 4.
Oh, okay.
Because that's the one that we have a controversial. That's the one we have disagreeing opinions on. That's why he's bringing it up.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
John Wick 4, starring my father, Keanu Reeves. I just changed my last name. Okay, love the John Wick movies. I love the John Wick movie I saw, which was 3. Sorry to disappoint you. Goonies, classic. Princess Bride, classic. Pineapple Pizza, love it. Underrated. I love
one of us.
No.
Pineapple Express is fine with me.
I love it.
As you
I was willing to let the whole I've only seen John Wick 3 comment go, but then you had to say you like Pineapple Pizza.
By the way, that's a very girl thing where it's like, oh, I've seen like the third movie in the franchise.
Right.
None of the others.
Didn't watch the first, the second.
The first is the only good one.
Yeah. And it's starring my own father. No, but I still liked it. Those movies, I know what happens in the first one. Guy avenges doggy. So, I mean, I get it. And it was still highly entertaining. I'll make sure I watch it.
In the fourth one, he falls down the stairs for a long time.
And you know what else is highly entertaining is
He's
John
still
Yulden
falling.
for
£4.99.
Evening all. So Warner are banking a lot on Superman and the Gunverse to turn things around. Superman is going to be a success, in my opinion. This is also Brian's new Stargate buddy. You guys are doing the Stargate rewatch with
Stargate
John.
guys.
Yeah,
we're doing every Sunday at 12:30. We do we watch 2 episodes of Stargate, or 3 depending on the time. Tomorrow I was going to tell John we can do 3, but we have to start half an hour later, or we can do 2, but we got to start half an hour earlier, and that's the play. I think we're going to end up going with 3 when I talk to him later. But yeah, we're having a good time. We're almost halfway through season 1.
Going for the hat trick number 3.
It's been 6 months.
All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about ticket prices and how theaters are desperate to kind of get people back in the seats. AMC recently announced that they're going to be slashing ticket prices by up to 50% on Wednesdays, because Wednesdays are the days where nobody goes to see the movies, apparently. And their discount Tuesdays seem to work really well. Most theaters discount Tuesday shows so that they can get people in there. And they're like, why not do Wednesdays as well? And apparently they had to negotiate with a bunch of studios to do that. But if discounting theater ticket prices gets more people into the theater, my question is, why not just lower the price of tickets across the board? Because I don't know if you guys know this or not, but to take a family of 5 to a movie theater to see a movie is ridiculously expensive.
Yep.
Yep. Especially like if you're in like a big city like LA or New York, where you have to pay for parking and like all this other stuff, like you're talking hundreds of dollars just, for like a single 2-hour movie event.
Yeah. My family is 4. My kids want to go see Lilo and Stitch today. I was looking at the app and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to cost $110.
I want to start with our box office hero Odin on this one, because he does a lot of number crunching. He sees how how expensive tickets are, especially compared to adjusted for inflation and all this other stuff. So Odin, what's your take on this? Do you think theaters should just by and large be cutting ticket prices?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Now, it is important to note that when AMC is saying this, it is specifically only for AMC members, like only people who have their membership. I believe they are going to actually allow it for people that have the free membership to get it. So it's another way of kind of getting people into their whole membership system of, hey, if you come to see a movie on a Wednesday, you can get it for 50% off if you have the app and if you have the membership overall. The A-list, I think, is a really good value, especially for everything that they offer with that. Now, getting back to like, why wouldn't they just lower ticket price all around? Well, as you mentioned, they had to negotiate with the studios, because the studios are really what's going to be holding up a lot of the potential that theaters would have to really cut things, because as most people know, theaters get very little as far as actual revenue from ticket sales in the first couple of weeks of major releases. In many cases, especially with Disney releases, it's about a 90-10 split, right? With the studios getting about 90% of those ticket prices and 10% going back to the theaters. And so a $10 ticket back in the day, 9 of that would go to Disney, 1 would be kept by the theaters. And so that's why popcorn was always so expensive compared to everything else, and why soft drinks were more expensive, because that's where they would make their money. They wouldn't make it on ticket sales. Down the line, okay, they get a little bit more back. But again, this is about doing things midweek, and so we're talking about not only older releases, but also newer releases that are still within that 1 to 2 week window. And so it's gonna be interesting to see whether they're actually able to get that 50% off for new releases, or if those are going to be exempt from it, because obviously that would cut into the studio's profits, even though it's a a random weekday where they're probably not making a whole lot anyway. But yeah, as you mentioned, right, since I do focus on ticket prices and especially the rate of inflation, the thing that really needs to be focused on by theaters and especially by studios, because again, studios are really the big problem here, is that even though, and Deadline's running with this nonsense and it drives me nuts about how this is going to be the biggest Memorial Day weekend ever in the history of the box office. Well, a couple of things. First, when you adjust for inflation, that is not actually true. It's still doing really well. I think it's going to still end up being like the 3rd or 4th highest Memorial Day weekend on record. So that's a still impressive feat. But hey, you adjust for inflation, that changes things quite a bit. But even with that being the case, if you look at ticket sales, it is so low. The number of people going to see movies now is so much less than it was, 5-10 years ago. And so that is, I think, what theaters are seeing from this, is that because, especially since they rely on popcorn and drink sales more so than anything else, they know more so how many people are going to see a movie or not, right? And because they have that knowledge, they're able to see, okay, we need to get more people and entice more people to actually come to our theaters. And the first thing that you do is you lower your ticket prices, because that gets them in the door. Even if they go to your concession stand and say that's too much, or oh, that's ridiculous. Well, hey, they're still in there, and there's still the potential that they could buy something, right? That they could buy that thing. And that's why they're also offering other things other than food these days, even merchandising and the popcorn buckets and everything else. So yeah, I think it's a good move by AMC to do this. But it really is, I think, a Band-Aid, because until the studios are actually willing to, one, produce good content consistently, and to actually give fans what they want, to bring more people to the theater by that alone, the theaters are going to kind of be playing by themselves on this one.
Keanu, ever since COVID, the theaters have been kind of like struggling to survive, and they've never fully recovered from that weird era of lockdown. What do you think theaters need to be doing in order to basically not only survive, but compete with this mentality where people have gotten used to watching movies at home?
The number one, I selfishly think that this idea of slashing the ticket prices on Wednesdays, I think it's terrible because I like to go to the movies by myself on Wednesdays and I don't want people in there. So I don't want more people in my lonely movie Wednesdays. So please don't do it. Number two, COVID ruined the movie theaters. They're getting a little bit better, but there's still some of them. There's one I walked to on the Upper East Side. It's like still post-apocalyptic in there. It's weird. There's like it's like they don't even take care of them anymore almost, and a lot of times they are empty. I think what would help is I like to go to the ones where they give you a giant couch to lie down on, and I think those are probably a hit. But again, that is so expensive. You could never go there with a family or something. That's double the price of just a regular movie. So I don't know how the theaters are surviving in general, to be honest. But once you go, you're like, oh, I remember, I missed this. It's magical. That Nicole Kidman thing. She's like, we go here to go into another world in what she comes on the screen and does the whole AMC thing. She's right. So once you go, you're good once you're in your seat, but they're not even really taking care of them anymore. Mm-hmm. So a lot of them.
Yeah. Dutch, you said yourself that you can't remember the last time you went to a movie theater. And it is mostly simply because, like, number one, it's expensive, and number two, it's inconvenient in a lot of ways. Like Keanu said, like a lot of these theaters aren't really doing anything to compete; they're just kind of subsisting. So, what's your take on this? What do you think theaters need to do to get people back into seats?
I've always been a person that has told everybody that you need to support your theaters, and they're there so you can get that theater experience because it's you get the giant screen and the big comfortable chairs and. But anymore, it's just been really super hard for me to justify spending the money. It's $18 plus $4 service fees and stuff for ticket prices anymore for one person. And, my schedule isn't exactly the greatest for movie watching. I go watch movies on Mondays when I go watch the movie theater. So cheap Monday seats would be great. But I just think we're in a new age now where people don't have that same desire to go to a movie theater like they did when I was a kid. And when you got giant 80-inch screens at home with surround sound, and you can sit in your recliner at home and watch these things and get the same experience, it's hard to justify taking the family out and spending $200 on cheap popcorn and trying to find a parking spot and herding everybody in there. You know what I mean? It sucks. And I hate that, but they better figure something out because the cinemas are definitely dying. And I don't really know what else to add to the conversation because it's sad to me, man. It's sad to me because I do like going to the movies, but I need a reason to go.
I agree with
Brian.
Go ahead. Sorry,
Brian. A big part of the movie going experience is just like the communal experience of watching a movie with other people.
Not for me. I want to be completely and utterly alone in a movie theater.
Yes. Just kidding. Well, but most recently, the Minecraft thing where they had that one scene where the zombie was on the chicken and everyone just went batshit crazy in the theater consistently. Across the country, like they had those, viral TikToks of like, showing what happened when that happened. And I can remember, so many experiences, like the first time I went and saw The Matrix in the theater, the first time I saw Scream in the theater, like
Avengers Endgame.
Avengers Endgame, the entire, when the entire audience just has a visceral reaction to a movie, there's nothing more exciting than like that experience. But how do you think movie theaters need to compete in order to get people back inside of them?
Well, I think so first off, what Dutch said, like I would rather watch the movie on my own at 3:00 in the morning in my dark living room on my 80-inch TV with no pants on and access to snacks, of course. However, the communal aspect is something you can't replicate at home. In fact, I would argue it's worse at home. I am married with children, which means that if I try to watch something with my wife, dude, we pause a 2-hour movie at least 30 times.
Yeah, but at least at home you have the ability to pause it.
But no, I don't
Because
want to pause it.
At the movie theater, when the little kid's in front of you or some dude in front of you being an asshole and it's got their phone flashing in your face, they don't stop the movie. You just have to get it taken care of and
get out.
The movie.
Get out. Don't pause the movie. It's a story with a narrative that can't be paused. You lose all momentum when you pause it for 25 minutes to get flaming hots.
Yeah, no, I get
Or
it.
if you have like misophonia, like my mom, someone's crunching behind her, we have to leave the film, no matter how good it is. If someone's crunching on their popcorn. So I understand if you're home alone, your own crunching doesn't bother you. But if somebody else is like, or chattering, yeah.
But the communal aspect. So when I'm at home, dude, I can't get my wife and my kids to let go of their ADHD to actually focus on a movie that might be a slow burn, but in a theater, they recognize that it's an experience and their phones aren't out. They're paying attention and we're having the same exact experience at the same exact time. So when you see the legendary King Pig show up in Minecraft and everyone collectively sighs and goes, "Aw," because of that random cameo for the streamer that died. It's a really huge thing. Like, you feel extra emotional. Now, if we were at home and half the people in the room weren't paying attention and they're distracted on their phone or there's other things going on, then you miss those moments where everyone can have the same experience. And I'm sorry, one of the best moments I ever had was in Avengers Endgame when all was lost and you have Captain America with his broken shield on a battlefield, literally facing an army of demons and monsters. He still gets up and he pulls the shield on and he tightens it up, right? And he's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to stand in the gap, even though I'm the last one on the battlefield. Everyone else is gone. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be the hero that I was taught to be, that I am. And then you hear, Cap, on your left. The theater lost their minds. I have never in my adult life experienced that level of uproar. Everyone lost it, dude.
Yeah, that's a
and then
good
when
experience.
you saw those things turning, and then there's other moments in that exact movie when Cap grabbed the hammer. All these moments I could not have gotten at home on my own at 3 a.m. It was an experience that I would gladly pay for again, and if I can replicate that, I would do it every week. If you told me there was a movie out that would give you that experience, I would pay for it, and I would pay extra. I would pay the fees. And I think what the theaters need to do in order to get this back, they need to make the movie-going experience that emotional again. Pick the right movies, give the right amount of times, don't make it so expensive people can't actually afford to go, and foster a community around enjoying movies, and not about spending the least amount of money and having the most amount of convenience, but about enjoying the movie.
Yeah. And
listen, if I can go back in time and experience that once a month, I would. It was the most inspiring thing at that moment in my life.
And I want to throw this to Tom, because Tom, recently at CinemaCon here in Vegas, Tom Rothman, the head of Sony Pictures, got up and begged theater owners to keep ticket prices in check because of COVID, we now have like these home theater experiences where, you got the big screen, you got like the surround sound, and people have gotten used to just watching movies at home in the comfort of, their own environment. And, but also back when, TV came along, and that was the big disruptor that was going to kill cinemas. They competed by getting wider screens. They collaborated with Hollywood to get these new features that you couldn't get at home. And it seems like they're kind of stuck with you can get everything on streaming that you can get in the theater, especially with the compressed release window, where it used to be like 6 to 8 months before a movie would hit streaming or rental. It's now like a couple of weeks. And so people know I don't have to go to the theater. I can just wait until it comes out on streaming and enjoy it in the comfort of my own home. So what do you think about this gambit to try to entice people back to the theater by lowering ticket prices.
Well, first of all, I don't think the ticket prices are as much the problem as we're making them out to be. Yes, in bigger cities, they are a problem. I'm not going to lie. And the bigger problem isn't even so much the ticket itself. It's all the added fees that you have to go through just to get the ticket. Because I'll even go into a theater now, and you don't even have a person there other than to scan your ticket thing. They can't actually get you a ticket. They'll flip over their screen and they'll be like, okay, pick the ticket. And you're still charged that goddamn convenience fee. See, that's why I love small town theaters. Because like the theater I went to yesterday to see Lilo and Stitch, I just had to pay for the ticket and that was it. I didn't have to pay for it ahead of time. I didn't have to pre-pick a seat. None of that business. Now, in some cases, that's a great convenience. But I think you're hitting the main point. The two things here that I think are the biggest problems of all are what Brian was just talking about and what you just mentioned, Matt. First of all, they're not creating anything that is creating a communal experience in the theater. Nothing out there that people really want to see on a grand scale outside of things like once in a while, like Minecraft or like this weekend with Lilo and Stitch and so on and so forth. But those are few and far between now. And the habit of people going to the movies, people aren't in it anymore because most of the crap coming out is garbage. Not only that, kids nowadays, they're so much into their phones and their other stuff and their TikToks that they don't care about movies. This next generation has not grown up with the idea of going to the movie theater every weekend as a typical pastime. Right?
I don't mean to interrupt you, Tom, but I just went to my local theater on my phone, Galaxy Theater. It's for the 1:30 show today in a couple hours. Got a good. There's a lot of seats sold. It looks pretty good, but one seat, $17.75.
You're old enough, just buy a senior ticket.
Plus $2.40 of a service. It's $20.24 for a single.
And the
ticket.
Service stuff adds up and all that kind of business.
Yeah, but a lot of these chain theaters have memberships. So if for $10 a month, I'm a member.
But then the other side of it. But yeah, no, you're 100% right. But the other side of it is then the fact that most people now know that why should I go sit for 3 hours and watch Mission Impossible? It's going to be on Paramount Plus in a couple of weeks.
That's true.
That's the thing that has killed theaters more than anything. So the humor is
21-day release bullshit. That's bad.
Yeah, at least it was Tom Rothman saying this, because if it was anybody else, I'd be like, you need to STFU right now because it's y'all's fault that this shit's happening.
Yep.
Because Sony is the only company that really they actually keep their movies in theaters for a while and they sell them to Netflix, unlike everybody else who has their own proprietary streaming service. And don't make any mistake about it. The reason they want these movies to get out there on video on demand within 30 some days is so they can have them on their streaming service within 60 days of release, because that makes it worth more to them. That's 100%. What they're doing now. And instead of actually treating these movies like actual films, instead of content and basically lost leaders for their streaming services, then maybe they'd actually start making some real money again. Because I swear they forgot that the most lucrative time in Hollywood was actually during the early aughts when DVD first came around. Hollywood was making more money than they'd ever made before. And that's why we started getting just bombarded with films, because you could actually make just about any kind of movie, put it in the theaters, and it didn't matter if it necessarily made all its money back right away, because you would make it back between DVD, cable sales, television sales, all the ancillary stuff that they have just demolished. And now they're leaning on the theaters going, you need to do this and you need to do that for us now. And it's like the theaters should be pushing back going, y'all need to make some better shit.
Right.
Because the theaters
I think they need to push back
as far as they can at this point.
They also need to say 60 days. Like the theaters need to be pushed back and be like, no more of this 21-day bullshit.
And if it makes more than $100 million within a certain amount of time, then you should add an extra 10 days for every X amount
100%,
of threshold.
100%, Tom. Preach, dude. You know what I hate most is when I go on Amazon Prime and it says, still in theaters, buy it for $25. I'm like, you guys, bro, that is so bad for movies.
That is what's killing.
Still in theaters, buy it for $25. Oh my god, it pisses me off.
All my normie friends this stuff all the time about stuff, and anymore 9 times out of 10 they'll just say, "Oh, we just wait for it to come on streaming."
Oh, that's so bad.
I like to go downstairs when they do that and go to the kitchen and put $25 into a jar and get some popcorn and a soda, so I can go upstairs and spend $25 on my home theater.
On the other side of it too,
but it's bad for movies and it's bad for the experience.
We need movies though that people actually want to get out and see, right? We need the top 100%. We need the stuff that people actually get out there and go, I gotta see this on the big screen. Yeah. Right. And that's why IMAX has been such a big deal in the last few years. And I think you're right, Matt, is people they need to find a way to either bring back Cinerama type experience or something to kind of amp it up a little bit more at the theaters, not just the amenities like at the draft houses and stuff like that where they bring the beer and the food to your table. That's one thing. No, they need to upgrade the experience, because you're right. When I have a 4K TV at my house with Dolby Atmos surround sound and my TV is 82 inches big, you're going to have to come up with something really cool to make me go, now that was an experience. And the only time I get anything remotely close to that is in like IMAX 3D.
Bro,
Let's be real.
Bro, have you
3D,
done
most people
40X
don't
yet?
like.
Tom,
No, but Mikey has tried to. I don't have any near me at all.
dude,
So,
I
like,
watched
maybe when I
Black
listen to
Adam in
Mikey, I'll do it.
40X, and it was like being on a roller coaster for 2.5 hours.
And I
It
don't know
was
if everybody's
insane.
going to be into that kind of a gimmick too. See,
Yeah, it's not
that's
my
the
It
thing.
was cool though. There was smoke and fire and shit and steam. It was crazy.
I'd
We
be
need
like, should we get out of
booze.
here?
We need booze and IMAX in tandem. Then
Yeah, booze, IMAX, and the
Yes.
moving chairs.
A
So
boozy
40X, IMAX, and booze. We're just
No,
like,
you
That's
don't
a
want
lot
the
of
booze of
barf.
the moving chairs, man. You're gonna throw up all over yourself.
That's
Well,
I-
also, have you guys ever experienced like Screen X? So
I
like
have, yes. With that
That's-
super
that's
screen.
So,
Yeah, that's like the 180-degree screen.
It's very
like,
cool.
I
they-
haven't seen. I know what it is, but I haven't been
and
there.
with
But yeah.
and with AI now, like they can basically just extend the shot to cover that. And that one experience, 'cause I went and saw Rampage starring Dwayne the Rock.
I did too. I did too.
In Screen X, and I was like, the movie was shit, but the experience was amazing.
Very cool. It was very cool. Like I remember thinking, this movie's not gonna be something I buy. Like I'm not gonna watch this on Paramount Plus in a couple weeks. But,
what a disappointment that would be then. Yeah.
but it was a really fun experience. It's funny because like watching Black Adam in 40X and then watching it like 3 months later at my dad's ranch in Yosemite, and I'm like, huh, I didn't. This is not a very good movie. But I remember thinking this is a great movie. I had so much fun, and then like 3 months later, I'm like, huh.
Well, you know what is good, Brian, is super chats. So we got the Beast 808 for $2. Pineapple on pizza is an abomination.
Preach.
That is all.
You're
I do not
wrong.
agree with that. Yes, he is wrong. Sit there in your wrongness and be wrong. The Beast 808.
Fine,
right.
just
That's
sit
right.
Yes, thank you for your $2.
Stew in it.
My
John
wife
Gilden.
ruins every one of my pizzas with pineapple.
They should sell
Nice.
pineapple pizza at the movie theaters. You get one
They
with
should.
each ticket, and
There
then
you go.
we have a deal. There you go.
So John Yulden for £4.99. A fight broke out in the cinema when I went to Wonder Woman 1984. It turned a miserable experience into a fun, enjoyable popcorn experience because
Oh.
obviously the fight was more entertaining than the movie was.
You know what I hate about reminds me of going to the theater here, because like I said, I go on Mondays sometimes, and Mondays seems to be babysitter day for some reason, and so I'll be sitting in the back of the theater in my spot. You know, it's generally a pretty empty theater, and all of a sudden, a couple teenagers will come in, and they'll have a pack of like 18 little kids under the age of 10, and they fill out the 2 rows right in front of me. Right? Yeah, it's ridiculous. This has happened like 3 times to me in the last couple of years. And then they go get their big giant tubs of popcorn, and they all have a little box, and they give each little kid a little stipend of popcorn and their little bottles of whatever, water or something. And for the next 2 hours, it's just mass chaos of popcorn. going up.
Bedlam.
It's just
What
like,
time
Jesus,
is this, Dutch?
This is like 2 p.m, old man time.
Who watches movies at 2 in the
Yeah.
afternoon?
I
Yeah, that's
do.
the best time. It's the best time.
Oh
If the
God,
theaters are empty, I can usually go in there by myself.
you
See,
filthy
me and Keanu-
casuals.
Keanu
we
and I need to go to the movies together. We would have a great time.
Exactly. We can be
She can sit
quiet.
in
We'll
her-
pay attention. Yes.
Yeah. She can sit in her couch. I'll sit in the chair. We'll watch the movie. It'll be great. It'll
It
be
will
great. We'll be like one of 4 people in the entire theater.
Exactly. Oh my God,
Yeah.
it's a date. We'll
yeah,
do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
You,
But
you
yeah.
know, one of the best theater experiences was seeing Matt or Dutch Butters cry at Top Gun Maverick.
Dude, that movie was the last. That was the last true cinematic experience I had.
It was a good movie.
That I can think of, and I still do not know to this day why I turned into such a blubbering mess at the end of that movie. But there was some kind of emotional hit that got me there at the end, and it was just an awesome movie experience.
America.
So, yeah. I mean, that's what it was.
Also, we have a deep cut for Keanu here for anyone who follows her channel. Garfield's Bizarre Adventure for $2. Keanu won. Nick lost. Don't do whippets.
Yes, it's don't do whippets, people.
No, don't do too many whippets.
Drugs are bad. Okay.
Drugs are bad.
Okay.
You know what else is bad, guys? Rian Johnson and his love of Star Wars. Apparently. So we're going to talk about our top story today, which is basically filmmaker Rian Johnson, in a recent interview, has admitted that he wants to return to the Star Wars universe. And his TV show on The Cock, aka Peacock, has been renewed for a second season. And it's basically a ripoff of Columbo, only not as smartly written.
It's out. I started watching it. I love that show. Actually.
Yeah, Poker Face.
But I thought he had a trilogy coming.
Well, he actually addresses that in this interview. But the thing is basically this interview. It's kind of like a puff piece. But he basically said that he had such a great experience with Star Wars, but the money for making Knives Out was just so much better that he kind of put Star Wars on the back shelf. But then he ends it by saying. So like the interviewer asked about Johnson's prospects on his own trilogy of Star Wars films announced 6 weeks before The Last Jedi was released. And he asked what happened. And Rian Johnson says, Knives Out happened. I mean, I kind of went down the murder mystery rabbit hole. I'm focused on making other stuff, but that wouldn't rule out it happening down the line. If I get back in the Star Wars universe someday, I'd be the happiest person. And people are taking that line to mean that, even though like his trilogy has been greenlit by Kathleen Kennedy years ago, that something happened where that green light turned red, and basically like he might want to do his trilogy, but the offer has been quietly withdrawn. So I want to get everyone's take on this, because as we all know, Rian Johnson is singularly responsible for splitting the Star Wars fan base and creating all the chaos and turmoil.
He's the reason we're here
toxicity.
today.
Yeah, for sure.
We owe a lot of our careers to him.
Yeah.
However, I would have rather taken good Star Wars over, this boom area. But Tom, why don't we start with you?
Well, since I am
what's
kind
your
of one of the
take on
few
this?
here who does predate that, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of vindicating that after all these years, nearly a decade later, we finally get to hear the truth of what we all known all this time, is that his trilogy was not going to happen. He can give us whatever excuse he wants, and it didn't turn out quite the way I expected it to as far as his response, but I'm not surprised. As far as him ever making a Star Wars film again, yeah, right. Even Kathleen Kennedy ain't that dumb.
I don't know about that.
She's dumb, but she ain't that dumb. Or we'd have got it by now. Because he's sitting here going, oh, well, there's Knives Out money.
Right.
You guarantee you, they said, we were ready. We're
Knives
gonna
Out
do
made a
Star
lot of
Wars
money,
trilogy.
though, right?
Yeah, but
Like
First one.
budget to promo to DVD, like it made a ton of money.
The first
it
one
may
yes.
have made him some money, but at the end of the day, what it is just basically he's a step higher than Zack Snyder at this point.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
and everybody likes to pretend that Zack's like this big, huge thing.
So, it's so sad for Snyder when Rian Johnson is still considered a better creative than you.
I have a
That's just
conspiracy
because
theory.
his stuff was actually successful on Netflix.
Glass Onion actually made money, even though it wasn't a very
In the
good movie.
theater, it did, yeah.
I know somebody who really likes the Glass Onion movies sitting over here next to me. But
There's an audience for it. They're like Agatha Christie, right? Like,
sure,
and that's why I'm surprised Disney has given that franchise the shaft. Most people probably don't even know there was a third film in that franchise that was released like last year.
I haven't
there?
seen a single
Yeah.
minute.
No,
of
the
any
third
of
one's
them.
coming out. The third one's coming out this
Oh
year.
yeah.
No,
I'm
they
actually a
already
fan
did.
of those movies.
Yeah, it was Glass Onion last.
Oh no, I'm
2022.
talking about the Express movies, the Agatha Christie ones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, 'cause,
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Kenneth
there's
Branagh
no-
did a third film last year, and Disney didn't even advertise the goddamn thing.
Yeah.
It was a Haunting in Venice.
Yeah, the Haunting in Venice
Oh,
one.
and
yeah.
that was the
I
one
see.
that was hilarious to me. I remember calling this out at the time because they marketed that movie as a horror film, and apparently it was not a horror film.
No, it
was a
so it was
mystery.
like it was so
no,
funny
and it's
though
actually
because.
one of the better of the adaptations too. Sadly,
But what's so
yeah.
funny is by that marketing, they were trying to get the younger audience that did not show up, and then they probably drove away the older audience who they relied
Well, most people
upon.
didn't even know what it was.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the problem. It's the third part of the Poirot series or whatever you want to call it. But yeah. But anyhow, that being said, yes, I'm not surprised that there probably is some truth to the money that came in for Glass Onion and whatever the hell the first one was called, Knives Out or whatever. But
Theatrically, Glass Onion only made 15 million, and I know it was on Netflix, and so it was like that's a limited release, and so that's good for a limited release. But still,
the thing about the Glass Onion films, or the Knives Out movies, I should say, and the reason why they're so profitable is because basically they get all these big name actors attached. They pre-sell the foreign rights, right, and get like a shit ton of money up front, and then they make the movie for like a fraction of that and pocket the rest, and then sell the rights to like Netflix or like whatever. So like basically all the Glass Onion stuff is pre-sold on the star power that's in those movies to foreign
kind of like
markets.
Canon used to do it,
and
Lionsgate does it now,
like
and
very
stuff
old
like that,
school.
And speaking of Agatha Christie, exactly what happened with Death on the Nile. They made money on that movie before the movie even came out because the star power and the foreign rights. They killed it.
Which is why I don't understand they didn't do the same thing with the third.
And those
one,
are good
yeah.
movies too.
Well, also just to correct one thing, so because I remember when the first film came out, what happened was that he started to shop around the sequels, and then Netflix came in and paid $469 million for two Knives Out movies.
Let's
Which
go.
means he probably pocketed at least 100 to 200 million.
That's insane.
Himself.
Yeah.
That's an insane amount of money. That's great.
And you know,
Good for him.
Keanu, like you talked about how like you were actually a fan of Poker Face. And I
Yeah.
watched the first season. I thought it was an okay show. Like it's kind of lazy mystery writing because they show you the crime and then she comes in the second half and she solves it, but you already know who did it. So like it's kind of like, you know, whatever. But you know, Rian Johnson has a lot of like, you know, kind of like clout in the cozy mystery realm now, as opposed to Star Wars. But you would think that Star Wars would be like every filmmaker's dream, especially when given the keys to like your own trilogy. So I don't know if you're a big Star Wars fan or not, but why do you think Rian Johnson would ever want to return to Star Wars, considering he's doing so well in the cozy mystery space?
Stick to the cozy mystery space. Why do you want to return? And I like that you call it cozy. My husband Gino loved Columbo. So we start watching Poker Face. I'm like, what is this Columbo you speak of? You know, like, what do you mean? This is just a different thing, but it is. And he's done a really good job with it. Stick with that. Obviously, maybe Star Wars ain't for you. The only Star Wars I ever really remembered was the one with Natalie Portman where she was Padme because she had the fancy outfits. So I'm not really interested in more Star Wars. And she's gorgeous. Yes. I'm not really interested in more Star Wars films. And the way that it angers everyone and it caused such a divide and a ripple on the internet, apparently, maybe it's just like, don't say we did. That's maybe from an outsider's lady perspective. That's what I would think. So.
Also, what's interesting about that show is that he's apparently not even a showrunner on it. He created it, but he's not a showrunner, and he directed a couple of episodes and wrote a couple of episodes.
I've only seen one of the second season, but so far, I liked it. And I mean, why I feel like with Star Wars, from an outsider's perspective, seems like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, because somebody's always going to have a very intense opinion on it, on what you do with it. So why stress yourself out if you're doing so well with Poker Face, right?
Yeah, and I think maybe even take that advice to the entire Star Wars franchise. Like if I was in charge of like the long-term viability of the Star Wars franchise, my first order would be stop making Star Wars shit right now. Stop making any Star Wars movies or TV. Focus on what we already have. We can market that. We can sell that. We can push it in the parks, sell merch on it, whatever. But stop. Let everyone get caught up, and then start wanting it again. Because they made way too much bullshit, way too fast, and most of it was bad. And now a lot of people who are hardcore Star Wars fans, no longer give a shit about Star Wars. And at any point, does someone talk about Star Wars news, my eyes glass over. And now you're talking about someone who read like every book, watched every version of the original trilogy.
You brought up Rian Johnson.
Dude, every single thing Star Wars I ingested growing up and into my 20s, I was a rabid fan. When they announced the return of Star Wars, it was the most exciting. My entire shop, I had like 7 people working for me at a time. We were all cheering, all of us fans. Huge deal. And now every time someone mentions Star Wars, I completely lose interest because you've made too much bad stuff too fast. The best thing you can do if you are the owner of that franchise, if you were managing that franchise, is to stop making it.
You see what I'm
Well-
talking about with the passion right there? That kind of passion.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it. So, which is good, but
Well, you know, a lot. What's interesting is that, you know, in this interview they did ask him about like the backlash, and he was actually like, "I feel like I've had such a wonderful, lovely, positive experience with the fans during the course of it. That's left me a bigger
bullshit.
Star Wars fan than I ever was, which is really
Snarky.
something because I grew up with it as a bedrock of my childhood." So he's saying
what
that,
a PR answer. Come on. Bullshit. Oh my God. Something's
So
not right.
I really enjoyed all the death threats.
yeah, but you know, Odin, this comes down to at the time, Rian Johnson was the only one who brought in a Star Wars movie on time, on budget, didn't give Kathleen Kennedy any grief, and so she really liked working with him and wanted to reward him before The Last Jedi even came out with his own trilogy of films, because she's like, this guy is okay in my book. But then after the split over The Last Jedi and the fan backlash and all this other stuff, and add into that the failure of Solo, Lucasfilm has been out of the Star Wars movie business for quite a few years now. And so even though they have all these like movies like in the pipeline supposedly, Rian Johnson has consistently just kind of been taking a back seat. He hasn't really been vocal about like his involvement in Star Wars. And a lot of people have speculated over, you know, whether or not his trilogy was ever actually going to happen. Do you think that this is kind of like an overture to Kathleen Kennedy to be like, hey, can I get my trilogy back? Or did his trilogy, is it dead on the vine? What are your opinions on this?
I mean, I think it's been dead for a while now. I mean, there's just no denying, even back at the time when things were happening, how much damage he had done to the brand. I mean, when even your last movie loses money, yeah, it hit $1 billion, but that's still, you know, way less than half of what your first film made in the, you know, the restart. And also because of how much money it cost, because of how much they were trying to correct everything, and ultimately made a huge mistake by having J.J. Abrams involved in that last movie, and every creative decision they made in that movie also was a massive mistake, that even people now who may have at the time been a little bit more like, oh, it wasn't that bad, even they are now having to admit, oh yeah, that was pretty bad, it was pretty awful. And so it is interesting to see that happen. So I think it's been dead for a long time. What is funny to me though is how Rian Johnson, in the midst of like 2018 2019 era, I remember he was still trolling people. Like people would be coming up with and reporting on certain things about his trilogy being canceled.
Even more recently, he still has been.
And he loves to troll people about everything with this. And so it is interesting to me where it's like, oh, if I have it, oh, okay, Keanu, like, it's like, sorry, not Keanu, Rian Johnson, like, why is it that you have been, again, so pompous about everything you've done with this film, how you've treated the fans, how you've treated the people who have these criticisms of your product, and yet you're the one who looks like has lost an entire trilogy of movies because of your stupidity. So it's to me, it's beautiful to see.
Well, Dutch, Rian Johnson has this quote that I want to read you, and it's about how he handled the fan backlash and how he compares it to what George Lucas went through with the prequels. I always want to make it clear it's not like I've gone through a living hell or something, Johnson says chipperly. I've had the kind of experience that you only dream about as a filmmaker. I was in my 20s when the prequels came out, and the George Lucas directed prequel trilogy beginning with 1999's The Phantom Menace was, and in many quarters still is, reviled by many fans of the franchise. I mean, you talk about wars between Star Wars fans. We experienced our own, that the prequels was World War I, and this Last Jedi was World War II. So he's basically saying that, oh, the furor over my film was nothing compared to what George experienced when he brought out the prequels.
I don't know about that. I see what he's saying, but I disagree, because the prequel war was more like a civil war.
Mhm.
This war is like a world war.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even when we were, you know, I'm a prequel denier. I can't stand those movies. They're dog shit. But at least we were fighting with fellow Star Wars fans. And I have to admit that the prequel movies still have the correct DNA in them. You know, so we're fighting with our brothers, fighting with our friends. This Rian Johnson stuff was just next level. He took the franchise and just dug a hole into the middle of it and took a big old shit in it. And it pissed everybody off. And he comes in here and he's purposely trying to to poke a bear here. You know, I have a theory where Disney kind of put his thing on the back burner, and they wanted to wait 10, 12 years to see what the temperature was after a while. And you know, in 2 years, 2027, which is going to be here in a blink of an eye, it's going to be the 10-year anniversary. So I kind of feel like he's maybe seeing what temperature the water is right now. You know, maybe he thinks that there's still a possibility to get his Rian Johnson trilogy out there. I can't see it happening personally, but you know, times change people. So you know, people seem to be getting dumber and dumber every year as we go along. So I don't know. It wouldn't shock me if 2029 comes around and there's the first movie of a Rian Johnson Star Wars trilogy in the movie theaters. Wouldn't shock me at all.
Well, and
So,
I got to
who knows?
disagree a little bit with Odin that the third Star Wars film was all that bad. It's a glorious piece of shit.
Mhm.
And you know what else? It's the world's most expensive Twitter war between directors.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what makes it worth it. Because you know, that's all that was, because that's the beauty of this whole thing is like it was screwed once The Last Jedi happened. Like there was still a chance you could have salvaged it after The Force Awakens, but The Last Jedi made sure that not only was there a corpse, but that corpse was pissed on. Right? And that's because, as Rian Johnson so lovingly put out, that your Snoke theory doesn't matter, your Snoke theory sucks, or whatever it is. The whole point of what Rian Johnson was doing was trying to make all the nerds wrong. And that's why he sucks. Because he did everything he could to make sure that Snoke was nobody and that Rey was nobody, which he knew was going to piss everybody off. And then to just put a cherry on that cake, he went and made Luke Skywalker the biggest, laziest piece of shit in the galaxy. Right? Can't even get off his ass to help his own sister. He's literally got to phone that shit in. Right? And not only that, where was the idiot in the room to logically say, okay, we lost Carrie Fisher. We've got time. Let's fix this. You have a scene already where her son kills her. Her son who already killed his father. And a lot of people are pissed about that. So we need to do something with this. So maybe that should be the arc for this character. Is that their final turn towards the dark side is they killed both of their parents and they have zero attachment to anything Skywalker now. Right? Like that was something you could have worked with too. But no, instead they decided they were going to keep her alive for no good fucking reason. And yeah, we wound up with one of the worst films in the history of films. And that's why I look at The Rise of Skywalker and I laugh. Odin, I laugh at that movie. I enjoy each and every fucking second of that train wreck. Because it's like, y'all asked for it, and all JJ's doing is saying that The Last Jedi sucks and doesn't count, and this is what I was gonna do. Yeah, it sucks, but is it as bad as what he was gonna do? Because at the end of the day, we all know now, thanks to Simon Pegg and Ray, or Daisy Ridley, whatever her name is, that initially there was a plan, and Johnson kind of threw it out the window. Sure, it wasn't fleshed out or written, but she and him both, Simon Pegg, said that Ray was supposed to be either a Kenobi or a Skywalker, aka a Solo. So take your pick. And everybody kind of knew that.
I'd like to retract my answer, actually. I think he should make more. It inspires such lively debate. Content for another 80 years. Like, maybe he should make some more. I don't know.
You know, I'm with Keanu. Instead of letting Dave Filoni do his crap, let's let Rian Johnson come in and have a field day with this shit.
What's funny, Dutch, the writer and creator of our favorite sci-fi show, Invasion, Simon Kinberg, is writing his own Star Wars trilogy right now. And I do want to take a minute, though, because I want to kind of speculate as to whether or not Star Wars as a brand is salvageable at this point. Because coming off of Andor season 2, like that was legitimately the best Star Wars we've gotten since Empire, in my opinion. And I know that I might be in the minority on this, but like that show embodied everything I loved about Star Wars. And it didn't have Jedi, it didn't have Darth Vader, the Emperor in it. It was just straight up like rebels versus fascist, essentially. And it was riveting. Like the characters were interesting, the plot twists came out of nowhere. It took time to build up to that, but if you were a patient viewer, like it paid off in spades. And you can literally watch the prequels, Andor season 1 and 2, Rogue One, and then the original trilogy all the way through and have a complete, coherent, amazing story. And I can't sing the praises of Andor enough, because I know that there are people out there who don't like it for good reasons, but I found it to be riveting Star Wars. And if Lucasfilm continued to make stuff like that, I feel like the brand could be salvaged. But then you hire Simon Kinberg to come in, who's like one of the worst writers. He did like, the Fox X-Men movies and stuff like that, Dark Phoenix and Invasion, which is one of the worst Apple sci-fi TV shows ever made. And I just keep looking at Kathleen Kennedy, hiring the wrong people to do Star Wars, whereas Tony Gilroy obviously is the guy who should be shepherding this stuff forward instead of Jon Favreau. So I just want to open it up to the panel real quick. Do you guys think there's any way to salvage Star Wars at this point?
Where there's a will, there's a way. What if he makes a fucking banger? You never know. But it's always going to be. It's such a polarizing topic, apparently. So somebody's always going to love it and always going to hate it. I'm team make some more. I don't know.
Okay, Keanu, I know that you're a female, and we are.
Good observation.
Yeah, not according to Twitter. I'm Dylan Mulvaney.
We have no problem defining what a woman is on this show, but for many young men, especially men our ages, we grew up like Luke Skywalker was our role model. Like he was the guy that we aspired to be like, right? Like he was the guy with like the magic sword and the magic powers, and he saved his friends and his father and all this other stuff. Like Star Wars was so ingrained into our generation's childhood.
I wanted
that
to be Darth
it was
Vader.
like,
It wasn't in mine
exactly.
too. Because of my brother, I did see those films, and when you hear that music and that opening thing with the story going,
But my point is that Luke Skywalker, what Rian Johnson did to him in The Last Jedi, was literally murdering the childhood of every man who loved Star Wars growing up. Like it was basically like cutting down and making their avatar of like what they aspired to be into the biggest loser and failure that you've ever seen put up on the movie screen, and it deeply divided the nerd group around Star Wars, because some people are just brand blind. They just love whatever has Star Wars on it as a label, and other people are like, this was the character that I aspired to be like, and you just shit on him. So
right, and now you just made him a freaking loser. Okay,
yeah.
So yeah, it's offensive. I get that. I get it.
And then to make matters worse, we found out he was a loser in real life too.
Hey, you're talking about Biden's press secretary, okay? So be careful.
Get off my lawn! The Jedi gotta die. Where's a titty? I need a drink.
Do you think he made more money as the Joker's voice than he did as Luke Skywalker?
No, Disney pays much better when they actually pay.
Odin, what are your thoughts? Do you think Star Wars can be salvaged at this point?
Not unless, I've said this before, I'll say it again, you would have to have a complete wiping out of everyone from top to bottom, from Kathleen Kennedy all the way down through the entire creative team. And you would have to have basically some people brought on new, or if there happen to be anyone that are actual true fans of the original content left, to basically say, let's take a 5 to 10 year hiatus and work out a plan for how to bring this thing back. Because again, I keep going back to, imagine if they, instead of the sequel trilogy, had put out the story of Darth Bane, had they put out instead, any of the EU stuff that they could have gone into. The amount of source material they had to use and to adapt was endless. And
Star
they
Wars
decided,
doesn't have source material.
I know, right? We had nothing to work with. It was
Nothing to work
ridiculous.
with.
So that was the only way that you would ever have any salvageability, is if you wipe out everybody who's been a part of this crappy team, and then you give it time to just cool down, and then you have people that actually love Star Wars come in to bring it back.
I have 2 questions. Number one, say they did make another 3 movies. Would you all see it, or would you boycott it?
Well,
I'd
I
pay
can say
for
right
a
now,
different movie and sneak in.
yeah, Gary would make me watch it, but I would not
You
plan to
wouldn't
pay.
pay for it.
I would not
You-
plan to pay for it.
Here's
Okay.
here's the difference, Keanu. I would probably pay to go see it, but one time. There was never any Star Wars movies that came out, even the crappy prequels, that I didn't see at least 2 or 3 times each.
Yeah.
I
If
even
not-
think
if
people
not
are too
5 or
nice
6
to
times.
Rogue One, to be honest with you.
Well, I thought Rogue One was actually pretty decent.
That's what I'm
But-
saying. I think people are actually too nice to that. If you actually
Yeah.
think about it, though,
Well, what's
Some parts of
funny,
it don't
Tom,
make sense.
after I finished Andor season 2, I immediately watched Rogue One, and that movie changes after you've seen the first 2 seasons of Andor. It actually becomes more like better because you actually know some of like the background characters that got fleshed out in the series, and you know what led up to like all this stuff, and Andor as a character is so much richer. Like it really hit differently after I watched the first.
Can I
2
tell you
seasons of
something,
Andor.
Matt?
Yeah.
I hate doing homework.
I hear you, but
Yeah,
to
me
me, it
too.
wasn't homework. It was a good show. It was fun watching.
I tried watching Andor the first 3 episodes. I'm like,
The,
yeah, this is boring.
the problem with the prequels and the sequels is they're both terrible trilogies that were made better by the extraneous series and shows and movies that came after them. You know, the prequels are better if you watch the Clone Wars cartoon first.
That's what I'm told.
It's just all the homework stuff is nonsense.
What was your second question, Keanu?
Oh, just have you ever had Anna, that Star Wars girl, on the program?
We have not. She's too
Oh my!
important for us.
She's
She doesn't
a
want to
friend
slum
of
it.
mine. She should come and do this. She could talk about this for hours, and she is so
No,
passionate.
we love Anna. Yeah.
Yeah, I love her.
Part of it is too. I think we're on too early for her.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She's a West Coaster.
I get
And
it.
she's got a kid as well, so
She's
like
had a
it's
child.
hard
She's
for her.
just had a little alien, as she says, I believe. Yeah.
No,
But
I've
maybe-
been watching. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Maybe. You know what? I'll be like, you know what? You should do these guys' shows sometime. She's yes, she's busy, but the little baby will grow, and then maybe she'll come on and yell and scream about Star Wars with you.
Well, I know she did not like Andor at all. That's not
Yeah.
her cup of tea, but
Right.
It was mine, so I like.
But I've been
What were you gonna say, Bob?
rewatching the prequels over this week, and they don't hold up, guys. I mean, I know we see them with rose-colored nostalgia
I don't.
because of the
I've always thought
sequels,
they're garbage movies.
and
Oh,
I didn't
prequels, yeah,
care for them that much to begin with. But even episode 3 is way wearing on my patience. Like it's like, oh man, I've
You
had to
underestimate
watch.
my power.
I had to watch episode 2 and 3 in chunks.
Oh.
That's how bad it was.
Have you rewatched Kenobi at all? The show.
No, fuck,
No
no.
desire.
It
No.
makes the
Why would I do
prequels
that when I
even
could just
worse.
watch Blazing Saddles?
I kind of forgot that existed. Good job.
Most people have, because not a lot of people actually watch
I
it.
literally
Like, I
had
mean-
forgotten all about it till just now. That's,
How can you
'Cause the
forget
best
about
part of the-
I
Wade?
did. I blocked it, bro. I
The
blocked
best
Wade,
part of
the
that
greatest
show is when
Star
they
Wars
come up and they're
character
like,
ever.
we can't get through, it's a blockade. And it's like, I saw this before in Blazing Saddles when the part where he's like, ah, shit, we all got to go back and get some dimes. Does anybody got a shitload of dimes?
Well, you know how Vader's big kryptonite weakness is the high ground. Apparently, Obi-Wan's is the side ground because he can't travel.
Yeah, don't put
around
and look-
barriers.
in the middle of the road.
I don't want to piss anybody off about episode 3, but that fight goes on for 25 minutes too fucking long. Right? Like,
I don't
the
remember.
emotion is gone in the first 5 minutes when they're just sitting there going for 25 minutes. And I thought that the first time in the theater, I'm just sitting here going, is this fight ever going to end? Like,
Are you talking about the big fight between Anakin? and
yeah,
Obi-Wan?
once it gets
Oh, yeah.
big and broad and they get outside of the thing, it's like just endless CGI jumping from one
Yeah.
thing to another.
Yeah.
I just got totally out of it. I
Green
know
screen
people love it.
explosion. Yeah,
It's not even people. It's just CGI.
Well,
It's
Tom,
like-
Tom, you know what doesn't go on long enough is super chats. We've got Darth Maul's lower half, a member for 10 months. He wants to rub it into our collective faces. You still mad, people? Guess what? I'm back, and there's nothing you can do about it. Of course, Rian Johnson, he is talking
Is that
about.
Darth Maul's better half?
I
Darth
love
Maul's-
that.
yeah. How does Darth Maul poop? Nobody knows. It's one of those.
Colostomy bag.
He's got a little hose that he just
All right.
squirts out into the.
Tom, I need your Japanese accent
yeah.
for this one. Fukushima for 199.
Where are the white lady? Current white lady, correct.
Yeah, so he's referring to his all-time love, Michelle from Force of Light, who was on
Michelle, my belle, white lady.
But Keanu, you're all right. You're all right.
I'll take it. Thank you.
All
Just
right.
not the same white lady.
You guys know who else is all right is Zachary Levi, aka Chuck, aka Shazam. And apparently there was this really interesting article in Variety where they interviewed Zachary Levi after he'd basically been blacklisted by Hollywood. for his support of the Trump administration and RFK Jr. and his anti-vaccination stances and stuff like that. He was very public about his support for RFK Jr. for president. He's kind of like a libertarian-leaning Maha guy, Make America Healthy Again. He's very anti-vax. He's very personal liberty, and he wasn't quiet about it, unlike a lot of people in Hollywood. And he's been paying the price recently. Like, his last couple of movies didn't do too well, and now there are people who don't want to work with him because of his political stances and stuff like that. But what's interesting about this article is that it's been revealed that he has raised at least $100 million in capital to open up his own studio in Texas, where he bought like 75 acres of like land that he's going to be building this stuff in. And he basically came out in this article and he said, like, look, AI has killed Hollywood. Hollywood just doesn't know it yet. And he's dedicating his studio to, it's called Human First Creators, right? So it's basically going to be something where there is no AI involved in the movies that are in TV shows that are shot there. He's also not going to be doing anything with a political bend like Daily Wire, so like his stuff is going to be like just entertainment based as opposed to, belief based. And he's basically going to say like, look, Hollywood's fucking up. I'm going to take Hollywood to Texas and we're going to do things right over there. And it's very interesting because he also said that apparently a lot of people in Hollywood have been contacting him privately now that the smoke is kind of cleared on like, all the Biden cover-ups and all like the vaccine dangers and stuff like that. And they've been saying like, look, dude, like, I really respect your bravery and I agree with you. I just, can't come out publicly because of my career. Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting. But basically, Zachary Levi is now taking his career into his own hands. He's going to be kind of like self-financing stuff. He's going to be producing stuff in his own studio in Texas. And I just thought it was very interesting and inspiring. So I wanted to bring it to the panel. Keanu, what's your take on this rogue maverick who believes that, vaccines should actually be tested before they're unleashed on the public? Creating his own little slice of Hollywood in Texas. What do you think about that?
Number one, what a hottie. Number two, he's Joe Roganing it. Good for him. Joe Rogan's like, you're going to make us get vaccinated or get proof of vaccination to perform in comedy clubs. I'll start my own, It worked out for him. The comedy mothership. Everybody's, go to Texas, start your own thing. I think that's a great thing. It's such a shame in Hollywood that, even though I agree with you, I can't say that out loud or publicly, like that's a really disappointing thing. But I would venture to say a lot more people agree with him that are like regular people than you would think. So, I mean, I would venture to say we all probably agree with him, right? Like, I shouldn't be, censored for my belief that we should test vaccines before we release them to the public. That sounds scary, right? But Hollywood, still, it's very upsetting that people can't even, you have to be one way. You have to fall in line, and that's that. So good for him, man. Yeah.
Yeah, in Dutch, a lot of people kind of said like, oh, he voted for Trump, therefore he's evil, he's a Trumper, he supports fascism and all this other stuff. But he was actually like a big supporter of RFK for president before, he jumped over to the Trump camp, and he only voted for Trump because of the RFK association, because he believed that RFK was the best guy to actually protect people medically and stuff like that. And we've seen recently that people have been going after RFK from his previous party, basically defending like poisoning Americans and like all those other stuff.
Like those dyes in our food, guys. It's very
exactly.
important to have those colors.
Yeah, we have to keep petroleum dyes in our food, guys. It boggles the mind. And now, like we were kind of joking before the show started about what's the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth about 6 months. And I think that we've gotten to a point where his stances on a lot of this stuff have proven to be correct. And now, like, after he's been blacklisted, he's now saying that Hollywood's going the route of Detroit, and he's going to greener pastures and controlling his own destiny. So do you think other actors could be following like his model of doing things?
Well, I hope so. I hope they do. I personally feel this whole, hey man, good for you. I personally don't have the balls to make the same
Yeah.
kind of stand that you're doing right now, but I really hope you do this and succeed and pave the way for all of us cowards who can't get up the stones to make a stand and say how we really feel, because I like making a little bit of money in the Hollywood. Yeah, no, it's going to come a point where I'm going to start boycotting the people who don't have the balls to make a little bit of a stand, like guys like Zachary and some of these other ones. You know, be who you are. You know, I voted for Trump. I'm a proud Trump supporter. I have been for a very long time. And that's going to follow me for the rest of my life. And I'm going to wear it as a badge of honor. And I'm not saying I'm a big famous person, because I am certainly not, but some of these guys that are like Zachary Levi need to, you know, wear it proud, man, and do their thing. You know, there's a lot of these guys. Mark Wahlberg, I think, is another one, right? That he's fed up with Hollywood. You know, I think he's wanting to make a big studio with Sony or something here in Las Vegas. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but I've heard that it's in the works. You know, yeah. These actors they need to get out of the shadows and just make a stand. Go, we're not going to put up with your shit anymore, Hollywood. If you want us in your movies, if you want us to sell tickets, you know, we're done playing your games. That's what they need to do. But I don't know.
Well,
whoever you voted for shouldn't affect
No.
your career. I
Not
don't
at
care
all.
who you vote. I didn't vote, and I am vaccinated because I felt like I had to get vaccinated to go to the comedy club. So
Mhm.
yeah, I couldn't do stand up if I didn't. Did I want to do it? No. So I'm happy that he's like, fuck you, whatever. But I wasn't like in the position to not be able to do like do my job. So I think that's pretty inspiring that he has the balls to do that. So, and
Yeah,
Trump won for a reason. A lot more people agree with them, I guess. Isn't that how it goes? Look, people wanted Trump in there, so I don't care how you feel about the guy. This is what it is right now. So,
You know,
Yeah,
we need more guys that aren't like, and don't think this wrong, guys, but you know, Kevin Sorbo, Dean Cain, those guys, they're super proud of those guys, but they're not exactly A-listers. You know what I'm saying? We need some A-listers in Hollywood to come out and make these stands. So,
also, Keanu, just to your point, you know, comedians were hit especially hard by those vaccine mandates. I know Dave Smith famously, like, he was just like, well, I guess I'm not performing at any comedy clubs this year, you know, because
my
he refused to
husband,
take it.
same thing. My husband would rather die than if he were here right now. He's in LA actually. He would be screaming from the other room, like, good for that fucking guy. He's very passionate about it. He would never, but so no, he's like, fuck you. I'll, you know, tour and not go to the clubs and things. I feel like
comedy's kind of on a hot resurgence right now. I mean, those guys in Texas, you know, Joe Rogan at the center of the universe there, that whole group, the Shane Gillis, the Kill Tony guys, you know, all of those guys are just destroying things. The things on Netflix. Have you guys watched this Tom Segura show on Netflix? It's absurd, but it's
Dutch. I'll get back to you in a second. Yeah. We only have Odin for like a couple more minutes, so I wanted to get his take on this. Odin, you know, we did a segment on one of our Saturday shows a while back about how Hollywood's kind of like the new Detroit in the sense that it's killing its own industry. It's not, you know, keeping track with the times. It's kind of out of touch with what the public wants, what its customers want, stuff like that. And Zachary Levi kind of reiterates this in this interview. And Texas, you know, Joe Rogan aside, has been very aggressive in trying to basically steal this industry from Hollywood. It's offering like film credits, much like you know, Georgia does, but also you have A-listers like Dutch was talking about, Woody Harrelson, Matthew McConaughey, Taylor Sheridan. They're all people who are advocating for more production in Texas. And once the infrastructure is there, like, you know, once Zachary Levi builds his studio, like there's going to be crew members moving away from California to Texas, all that economic influx is going to be moving out of California and into Texas, all this other stuff. So the question then becomes: is there anything Hollywood can do to prevent this or compete, or what do you think? Because Texas is soon going to be like the epicenter of entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, cut your budgets and stop being activists. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, so much of it, as far as why they've had such bad movies, has been because they've been more focused on activism by either as a company in their films and in their products, and in addition to that, they've been, of course, consistently putting out big, massive projects with massive budgets that really don't need to have the budgets that they have. So that's one way that they can try to compete there. But again, these are all people that are within this one, basically this within the same mindset, right? They're all in this like cult-like mentality, and so I don't think that it's going to actually happen. And it's not even just him making the studio. I don't know necessarily how well that's going to do, because it's hard to do anything as far as being on your own and starting from the ground up. Like, it's going to be a tough battle for him going forward, despite the fact that it seems like there's a lot of things that might be going his way. There's going to be a lot of challenges for him too. But the other thing they have to really be concerned about is, and this is something I brought up before, is what's going on with films like Terrifier 3, where they have found a way to go around the studio system entirely, right? Mm-hmm. To have their own production, fan funded, and then to distribute their film themselves too. And in that way, also in many ways, fan funded as well. And so, and for it to even be successful, and the fact that theaters are willing to do almost anything to bring more and more people to their theaters tells you a lot about the current state of Hollywood too. So yeah, they have to start making changes, and they have to start making changes now. And it's something that can't just be we're changing our culture here, and you'll see it in a couple of years. It's like, no, like you are getting to the point where it's almost too late for you to find any way back to anywhere close to where you were before.
Well, Odin, I know that you have to get running for family reasons.
Yes.
Do you have any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
Other than the usual stuff, yeah, OMB reviews on all the different locations, and happy to be here on here as always. Yeah, there's a Jurassic Express event thing. I don't know if anyone's... It's like they have like these animatronic dinosaurs that they bring around and all these other things. So my son is going to go gaga for that. So I'm going to try to get him ready for that.
Well, have fun with the family today.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Y'all have a great one.
We'll see you next Saturday.
All right. Bye.
All right. Tom, I would love to hear your take on this, because there is a lot of kind of like, Hollywood backbiting involved in this, but there's also major economic implications of kind of Zachary Levi, leading the way out of Hollywood and into Texas, but also his stance against AI, much like his stance against the vaccine, is somewhat controversial, because AI is a big reason why Hollywood is kind of like going the way of the dinosaur. But he's dedicating his studio to human first creations, where basically he's going to ban the use of AI at his particular production studio. So what's your take on that?
Zachary Levi, what was he in?
Chuck.
Huh?
Shazam.
Nothing happened. All right. Yeah, no, it's nice to see that he's out there speaking on this stuff. I'm surprised he's getting as much coverage as he is, but maybe that's more of a sign of Hollywood kind of re-embracing diversity of thought, perhaps more so than Zach was canceled. But hey, if he's making his own studio and he can work this out and get some things going, good for him. I don't think there's anything bad about avoiding AI. It can help in certain instances, but in the most cases, it's just abused anyway. So I hope for the best for him. I'm surprised Hollywood still hasn't decided to just let him back in, but whatever. Good for him.
Well, Dutch, we actually on the Salty Nerd podcast interviewed Adam Baldwin, who starred alongside Zachary Levi and Chuck, and he had nothing but good things to say about Zach. Whereas some of the other people who worked with him have basically cut off ties because of his stance on vaccines and stuff like that. Do you think these Hollywood hyper liberals are ever going to come back around and be like, hey, maybe we shouldn't hate people simply because of their political beliefs?
No, I don't think they're wired to be able to do that. It's just not in their DNA. There's nothing more closed-minded than a left-leaning libtard. So, no, I don't think it's ever going to happen. There's always going to be that division. So they need to just split their camps and go our merry ways and make our own content and see what happens.
It's like the Star Wars thing.
Yeah,
People are
that's
always
exactly
going to
what it
talk about it. Yeah.
Well, Keanu, but you made some good points about like the comedians and getting the vax. Like I know that Dutch, in order to continue with his job, was required to get the vax. There were a lot of situations where people, it was no longer my body, my choice. It was like, you have to take this experimental drug, otherwise we're going to ruin you.
That's what creeped me out about it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'll never forget. We working at the casino, the biggest company in Las Vegas, without saying their name. You guys all probably should know what it is. But they took all the employees and they took a herd of like 300 of us every day for 2 weeks, and they put them in lines like cattle chutes, and we all got to go into the whatever shot. You can take the Moderna, you can take the Johnson & Johnson, or you can take the Pfizer, and people just picked their poison and got in line and went and did their thing and kept working. But it was just awful. You felt like you were in a science experiment, and
it's disturbing. It was. I cried, I think.
Yeah.
I never boosted or anything. I just was like, what kind of world are we living in? Right. And I don't even almost blame the employers like trying to keep their businesses open, because the government just scared the shit out of us. Because this is why I'm not political. I don't assign to. I take everything, like every situation, sort of one-on-one.
Yeah.
It was such a fucked up situation. Like, you felt like you had to do it, and the businesses, if they made you do it, they felt like they had to make you do it to stay open. It was complete and utter like fear mongering, and
that's what it was.
Not a very fun time. And it's also why half the movie theaters look post-apocalyptic, bringing it full circle here. But very, very, very bizarre thing in life to go through.
Yeah. But what was interesting, particularly about the comedians, Keanu, that I wanted to bring up with you, is that those who refused to get the jab ended up making podcasts and discovering a new way to get their brand out to people looking for a laugh, or looking for relief, or looking for like some honest truth that couldn't be told, elsewhere.
Absolutely.
That was a big deal, wasn't it?
My friend Chrissy Mayer, she refused, and good for her. She, and I believe at the time it might've been, I can't quite, you would have to ask her. She would also be great for this show. She quit her corporate job and was like, because she was also doing stand-up, and she started her podcast, and it's taken off, and she live streams, however many times a week, and people felt comfort in like, okay, she's not going to do it either, then maybe we don't all have to do that. And she's garnered a real like a great audience of like-minded people that really support her. And that's one that comes to mind. My husband, Gino Bisconti, same thing in Hot Water. He made people feel like more included. Like, I'm not a freak if I don't just fall in line and go and get this vaccine. He refused. He's like, if I can't do the clubs, I'll go where I'm wanted. And goodness gracious, the stickers are all over the city and all over our house. It's COVID is the flu with a better publicist. He still put some places. Like, he was another one, same thing. So follow those two, by the way, Gino Visconti and Chrissy Mayer. So it did people. Yeah. They're like, if we have to sit in our houses and not go and do the clubs, I'll be funny online, and I'll also teach you something. Or maybe that's what my husband would say. I would never say that, but yeah.
It is kind of interesting that now you can actually talk about COVID on YouTube and not get
right.
Demonetized
on my show. I don't typically, but because I just want to forget about it. But no, Keanu Cast you wouldn't typically find that there. But Gino is on Rumble, and you could say that's like the Wild West. You can say whatever you want there. We do that 3 days a week even, and I'm his booth girl. So 'cause we ended up with some of the
Yeah.
some of the if you're looking for giggles and silliness, Keanu Cast. If you're looking for political talk and COVID things, maybe a little bit of conspiracy, subscribe to In Hot Water, Gino Visconti on Rumble. But
But it is kind of funny, like, because like now it's like, oh yeah, of course, COVID leaked from a lab in China. It's like
Right.
everyone knew that, but like you say that a couple years ago, it's like, oh, you're spreading disinformation and you need to be quiet. That's racist and all that other stuff. So what a difference 3 years makes, right? So it's one of those
definitely,
things.
yeah. Thank goodness it's getting a little bit better, and I think Hollywood will get a little bit better. I think it's slowly getting, because there's going to be no one left. If everyone feels this way, then they are going to have to be like, you know what? Maybe that wasn't the best idea. No.
That's right. Real quick, we got Fukushi. Oh, wait, wrong one. We got R2D Bot, who gifted 1 Salty Nerd Podcast membership. Didn't quite hit our goal today, but we appreciate everyone who did, including R2D Bot. Thank you so much for that. And guys, we had a lot to talk about today, and we talked about it. I want to thank my fantastic panel of nerds for being here. Tom Connors Jr., do you have any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
Well, I don't think anybody's going to be happy if I don't have any final thoughts whatsoever. So, I mean,
I like turtles.
of course.
Yeah.
Um,
Who doesn't like turtles?
and, I mean,
Iconic.
I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan.
so what, Dutch?
Pizza.
You can
eating
find me at
humans.
Midnight's Edge After Dark. You can find me all sorts of different places. Yeah, thanks for having me here. I love this place. The decor is great.
Did you take an edible before we started today? That's what I wanna know.
Yes, indeed. The edible was called McDonald's. All right, Keanu, you already told people a little bit about where we can find you. We have your channel linked in the description and in the chat. So if people haven't subscribed to the Keanu Cast, go and do that right now. But do you have any final thoughts on the topics we talked about today, and where can people find more of you?
Nothing other than this was riveting conversation, and thank you so much. It's Keanu C. Thompson on YouTube. I'm live like 3 or 4 times a week, and then Keanu Cast wherever you find your podcast. And if you're in the New York area, if you want to come see me do live stand-up, I'll be at Rodney's Comedy Club this Sunday at I think 9 p.m. But check there, or you can go to my Instagram, Keanu C. Thompson, and check all my comedy dates, or Twitter, or X, excuse me. But again, thank you so much. It's always a blast over here.
Well, we always appreciate having you on. And Brian from the Popcast, any final thoughts? Where can people find more of you? And what are you going to be talking about in just a few minutes?
I'm sorry I missed the last like 20 minutes, dude.
I was wondering where you were at.
I got twin daughters, and they were fighting. And at 13 years old, when they fight, it takes over my entire household.
There's like blood and hair everywhere. Probably.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Ugh.
I'm trying to like focus on the show, and I hear them in the background. I'm like, oh, I gotta deal with this. You can find me on the Brain Show in about 8 minutes, and me and my brother are gonna be talking about politics and movies, entertainment. It's gonna be fun. Also, the Popcast, which is my main channel. You can see it on the screen. We got a huge video coming out next Friday. It's going to be great. We've been working on it the last like month, and I'm editing like crazy. So I'm hoping you guys can come out and check out that. It's going to be another definitive history. So it's about an hour and a half long deep dive, and some of our greatest stuff. I can't tell you what it is yet, but it's great. It's awesome. And that's it, man. Those 2 places and Brain Show in about 8 minutes. Great seeing you again, Keanu.
So good to see you too. Always a blast.
I'm sorry I missed the Zachary Levi thing, because that's one of my favorite all-time actors. Not because he's like the best actor, but because he has like such a passionate grasp of reality.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's weird,
Brian.
that, like,
if you wanted to talk about Zachary Levi, you should have been here during the segment.
I know.
Okay.
But I just want to say it's weird that all the people from his show Chuck are all based as F. So
yeah, they are. They really are.
They're all super based. No wonder why that show was so successful, because everyone on that show is based. Anyways, that's it. I love being here. Love hanging out with Keanu. Sorry I missed Odin, and see you guys in my 8 minutes.
And guys, as soon as this show ends, you're going to be automatically redirected through the magic of the interwebs to the Brain Show. So be sure to stick around for that. Dutch Butters, anything else you want to tell people? And what's going on with the Salty Nerd Gaming?
No, I don't have anything I want to tell people. I want to thank Keanu for being here. It's always awesome to have her on the show. Brian, sorry you had kid problems. Tom, you're gonna have to tell me what kind of edibles you're using because I want some. Come see me over on Dutch Butters Gaming, guys. We're doing a Helldivers podcast every week called Salt Divers with Salty. Every Tuesday, we're doing 3 or 4 live streams at night, and we got lots of sorts of stuff coming out almost every single day. So we're busy over there trying to grow that channel up. So Helldivers and lots of shooty games. So there you go.
And watch the studio on Apple, because speaking of edibles,
it's really fun.
Yeah.
That's
it's really good. When she ate the brownies with the shrooms, it's great.
So I want to give a big shout out to everyone who dropped super chats during the live stream. Hemorrhoid Hurts, Fukushima, Mexican Iron Man, Fluffy Panda, John Yulden, Da Beast 808, and Garfield's Bizarre Adventure. Thank you guys so much for your support. We always appreciate that. And be sure to tune in next Saturday, same salty time, same salty channel for more Salty Saturdays. Until then, stay salty, my friends.